Psychologists argue that the first time people communicate verbally, that is, in the verbal form, only 7% of information is transmitted, and the rest is conveyed in facial expressions, gestures, intonations, subtle movements. So you need to convey as much information about yourself as you want in the first moment of communication, especially in gestures. Shaking hair. A sudden movement of the head is made to flip the hair from the face or shoulders to the back. Even women with short haircuts can use this gesture. Wrist demonstration. A woman interested in a potential sexual partner will periodically show him the smooth soft skin of her wrists. The wrist area has always been considered one of the most erogenous zones. When a woman talks to a man, she tries to keep her palms in his sight. Women smokers have no trouble showing a man this teasing gesture while smoking. The wrist demonstration and hair shaking are often copied by homosexuals who play the role of a woman. Spread legs. The legs are spread slightly wider than usual when there is no man in sight. This does not depend on whether the woman is sitting or standing. A woman in a sexually defensive pose sits with her legs firmly pressed together, crossed all the time. Wiggling hips. The hips swing harder than usual to emphasize the charms of the pelvis. The following, more subtle, enticing gestures of women have been used for centuries to advertise goods and services. Sideways glance. With her eyelids slightly lowered, the woman looks at the man until he notices her gaze, then quickly averts her eyes to the side. This gives a mesmerizing feeling of peeking and a tantalizing hint that you are being furtively peeked at. This sensation can ignite almost any normal man. Slightly open mouth, moist lips. Dr. Desmond Morris describes this gesture as mimicking oneself, as it is designed to symbolically represent the female genitals. The lips are moistened with saliva or makeup. Both make a woman look sexually enticing and attractive. Lipstick. When a woman is sexually aroused, her lips, breasts and genitals become larger and redder as they fill with blood. Using lipstick is a way used for thousands of years to simulate the reddened labia of a sexually aroused woman. Stroking of a cylindrical object. This stroking of a cigarette, the stem of a wine glass, a finger, or any long cylindrical-shaped object is an unconscious damper on what may be on your mind. A glance from behind a raised shoulder. The rounded raised shoulder is an imitation of his own chest. A woman's way of crossing her legs. Men often sit with their legs spread wide, defiantly displaying their genital area, while women cross their legs to protect their tender genital area. Women use 3 poses to express their flirtatious, enticing behavior. The first is the bent knee stance. In this case, a woman sits with one leg tucked under the other and with the tip of her knee pointing toward the person she is showing interest in. It is a very free pose, eliminating all formality and giving the opportunity to flirtatiously bare knees. Playing with the slipper off also suggests a free pose, and the phallic dive of the foot in and out of the slipper is so sexy that it can drive many men crazy. Most men believe that this intertwining of the legs is the most attractive sitting pose a woman can come up with. It is a gesture that women subconsciously use to draw attention to themselves. Dr. Shefflin found that one leg is pressed tightly against the other in order to create a feeling of increased muscle tone, which, as mentioned, is the state of being ready for sexual intercourse. Women use other lures as well, such as slowly throwing her leg over the man's eyes and slowly returning them to their normal posture, gently stroking her thighs with her hand, indicating anticipation of the touch of the man's hands. Often the woman speaks in a low, quiet voice while doing so. So, movement and movement again. From quite explicit and provocative, when a lady stares at a man with her head held high with her mouth open and her eyes wide open, or accidentally invades his intimate area, strokes her shoulders and hips, or adjusts her shoulder straps, to the usual alluring gestures, for example, from looking in the mirror or at her reflection in the bus window, to licking her lips or showing her armpits, to leaning back and relaxing, to playing with jewelry or rubbing something in her hands, to playing with her hair, tossing it without looking away, to fixing her hair or shaking her head, regardless of the length of her hair. From provocative male poses with hands on the hips or with thumbs behind the belt, to throwing one leg over the other in a skirt, to constantly changing the position of the legs or even just showing the legs in a position where the legs are slightly more apart and the toe of one of them is directed to the object of seduction. Demonstration of their legs, its killing power. There's plenty of room for your imagination to run wild. And in conclusion, another very powerful technique that is good only for the beginning of acquaintance, to show your interest. This is the so-called eye contact. The essence of it is that you need to stealthily look at the object of your choice until he notices you, and then immediately hide your eyes. This is the most effective way to get a man off in 5 minutes.